Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and today we're going to talk about the best Pokemon set of the year. This is part 2 of the best and worst series. We just talked about the worst set of 2020. Today we're going to talk about the best Pokemon set of 2020. And it's no surprise that the best Pokemon set of the year is easily Shiny V. Bend the knee to Shiny V. It is the true king of the north. It is truly the next Hidden Fates. Just like we did in the worst set of the year video, we're going to go over the data, talk about hype versus fundamentals, and also talk about Japanese versus English so you can get a better understanding on what makes a set more popular and what makes some releases less desirable. Not only is Shiny V the best set of the year, it's the most successful Pokemon set ever released. The first data point to justify that strong claim is before the set was even available. My distributor texted me and said, "Hey Scott, we won't be able to give you as much supply as you want because we received more orders in quantity and volume than any other Pokemon set in the history of the franchise." So that means more orders per person and per quantity. That is unbelievable. So we're talking the amount and the amount of people, longitude, latitude, everything. They have received more orders than ever. So what does that tell you? There's probably not going to be enough supply to meet demand. And sure enough, when these boxes hit the shelf, the price proved that. Right out of the gate, I listed mine at one of the lowest prices, if not the lowest price for a US seller, and I had to raise it to just try and slow down sales, but I had to put that price between $125 and $140 in less than a week, sold over 100 boxes. So what does that data tell you? The highest margin with the largest amount of liquidity per volume of any Pokemon set ever. To this date, there's no other set. You can quote Hidden Fates. I could go get Hidden Fates ETBs at Target for 50 bucks. You cannot do that with Shiny V. You can quote anything. CP6, Evolutions, base set Charizard, right? Nowhere near these margins. Nowhere near this liquidity. Nowhere near this volume. All of that together. Nothing ever in the hobby. Let's go back to even 90s, the golden era. Like, the golden era of the hobby. The most nostalgic for me and most of the vintage boomer collectors out there. In the 90s, I could go to Toys R Us all day and buy my base unlimited blisters for $4 a piece all day. You could buy a first edition base box in the 90s for $90 to $100. You still see those occasional receipts where people say, "Hey, I bought this back in the 90s and the price is somewhere between $90 to $100. This box sold for a higher price day one than first edition base. Just let that marinate for a little bit. Let that sink in. Therefore, this set has more fundamentals than hype can capture. This set is so exciting. You know, all this data, what does that tell you? It is such an exciting set from top to bottom. And let's really get into that. Let's go through everything starting with the box. The box itself, the design is very sleek. You got the preview of the cards, you got the Pokemon you're going to see. More specifically, for people who are like, "Hey, what's the next Hidden Fates?" We talked about this in the worst set of the year. How do you understand that? How do you address that question, right? What's the next Hidden Fates? Well, the answer is Shiny GX. So what's the next Shiny GX? Maybe the box that has the same color with the same mixture of, shiny Pokemon, and the same thing down here, but instead of a GX, it has a V. So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty obvious what was going to be the next Shiny GX. Maybe Shiny V was going to be the next Shiny GX, which ultimately was the next Hidden Fates. So from that perspective, again, for the people who pay attention to what goes on in Japan, on the other side of the globe, you knew what was coming with Shiny V. You knew this was going to deliver, and it did. So getting past the box into the packs, you get 10 packs per box. Each pack guarantees you 2 holos, a chase card, a reverse holo. If that's not enough, you get the bonus shiny card sometimes. You also have these cards peppered in. Let's just do a little pause real quick on this. If you have not opened an Amazing Rare in 2020, you have not gotten the 2020 Pokemon experience. This is tailor-made for collectors. You got this embossed rainbow design here, seeing the border, kind of like gold stars. That design is it also echoed in the energies and the rarity. Flawless. I mean, that just is, they're right. They got their hand on the pulse of the collector spirit with that card. So you got Amazing Rares, half art shinies, full art shinies, gold full arts, top to bottom. This set has everything. If that's not enough, let's do a little compare and contrast with Champion's Path. There's some over here off camera on the floor where it belongs. There's some Champion's Path versus Shiny V, comparing the best and the worst. What's the identity of Champion's Path? What do you think of? Like when you think of Jungle, for example, let's look at some other sets out there. Think of Jungle. What do you see? Pokemon that are in a jungle. Fossil. Pokemon that live in a cave, or extinct Pokemon, dinosaurs, things like that. Rocket, all these dark Pokemon. There's an identity there. Everything's very strong and concise. Champion's Path. What's the identity? You got shiny Charizard kind of out of place. He's the only shiny in that set. It's like when I'm in Europe and I don't know the language. I feel out of place. That's what's going on here with Champions Path versus Shiny V. Shiny V has everything going on as far as identity is concerned. Also, going back to that thought experiment of taking Charizard out of the set. Let's take Charizard out of Champions Path. What are you left with? You take Charizard out of Shining V, you still have a very strong identity. And more importantly, Charizard feels at home. It feels like it's part of a bigger identity. It has that full feeling of a set where, again, Shining Charizard is like me when I'm accidentally in the part of Switzerland that doesn't speak Italian. I don't know what's going on. That's what Charizard is in Champions Path. It's just out of place. It's not part of the bigger picture. If anything, Charizard being there makes it even more unclear. That's why that leftover analogy makes sense, because it's all this stuff mixed together. It doesn't have a purpose. It doesn't have an identity. It doesn't have a scent. It's very convoluted. It's like when you mix too many colors together, you end up getting brown. That's what Champions Path is, where this right here is just a well-done oil painting. I mean, this is just a work of art from top to bottom. I can't say enough about it. It's really hard to capture. You're always attempting to try and capture the fundamentals that are in Shiny V. It's the opposite, where Champions Path was just, is it the next Hidden Fates? It was always asking that question. Where with this set, not only is it the next Hidden Fates, it's outsold Hidden Fates. It's doing better than Hidden Fates. And who knows what the Shiny Fates or the equivalent will be in English when we get there. But at the end of the day, it's got every data point. It's got all the fundamentals you're looking for. It delivered and then some. And some of the critiques from the other vintage boomers out there, 30-plus-year-old collectors in the hobby, some of them, and I get it, they want their special Kanto Pokemon. I feel you. I'd like to see a shiny Squirtle, Bulbasaur. I feel that. I definitely would like to see that. But, for people doing that nitpicking, this set is the poster child of the market just doesn't care about your feelings. Like, the fundamentals of the set, it's like a tidal wave to that little, person there criticizing it. That smpratte in this ocean of Shiny V inertia. It's just, you're just going to get buffeted. You're going to have that, whatever Pokemon gets you, buffeted by the attack. That's just what's going to happen, because this is the poster child for the market. Just doesn't care about your feelings. And if you want to contrast that again with Champions Path, it went up and then it came down. Even if there is some type of retrace with Shiny V, you're already up like 200, 300%. I mean, right out of the gate. Again, in the history of the hobby, there has never been a set, go through time, every era, EX era, Diamond and Pearl, a Heart Gold Soul Silver, Black and White, XY, nothing comes close. Evolutions, which was phenomenal. Evolutions brought people back into the game. CP6 brought people back into Pokemon, great entry point. Even those sets don't hold a candle to Shiny V. So, you can't say enough about it, and I think the final discussion point here is just to reiterate the Japanese versus English aspect. I mention this all the time in Patreon. I always talk about this idea of how Japan this is their franchise. This is Japanese made, Japanese owned, Japanese designed. It's why all of these Japanese promos have such a great release that tie into the event, that tie into the Pokemon Center, that tie into what's going on. That's what this set is. Even going back to this Amazing Rare, Japan designed this. Like, this is their concept that they executed. Now, don't hear it as like they do nothing wrong. Break cards exist, right? Break cards are a thing. But at the end of the day, this is great because this shows that they're listening. Even these little textured aspects, the design of this card, it's understated. There's something left to be desired there. There's a lot there. It's so good. It has so much going on. It's the perfect subtlety to draw you in. And then if you want that big screaming full art, you also got that too. You have such a variety. And I can't say it enough. This idea that Japan creates this, they're the cook, they design these cards. So when you're asking yourself, if you're here for the stonking and the investing and the flipping and the profit, and you only care about the numbers, you got to pay attention to the other side. You got to pay attention to the country that owns this franchise, that created this franchise. All the artists are Japanese. All the creators are Japanese. If you are not paying attention to Japan, you're doing yourself a disservice. The easiest way to say it is not caring and not studying just equals not knowing. So if you want to know what's the next Hidden Fates, what's the next set, how is this set going to be exciting? This is where the answer is. These sets come out. Like, as we're making this video, Shiny V is out. Shining Fates or whatever it's going to be is still an abstract idea. It's not on shelves. It won't be for months minimum. So again, with Shiny GX, we had 9 months, 10 months before it even came out in Hidden Fates. So there it is. You have all this data, all this information, all this opportunity sitting there if you want to investigate it. And I can't emphasize enough this value of understanding Japan. It has never been more crucial in the hobby as it is today. Like tying in the thing I said about WotC, let's go back to that time. If you didn't really know what was going on Japanese base, it's not a big deal because everything's pretty much consistent. Yeah, there's opportunity and there's money to be made and there's some excitement. But at the end of the day, it's not like it is today. The information is publicly there. It's all there. It's just a matter of effort. And do you want to put in that effort? And again, one more time, not only is Shiny V the best set of the year, it's the record-setting sales. Hidden Face margins were not as good as Shiny V. That's the last closing point here is Hidden Fate's margins were not as good as this set. If you're still stubborn, you're like, oh, I don't like Japanese, whatever. Feel free playing the game on handicap mode. Feel free. Like that, you're just making a bad choice. Because at the end of the day, Shiny V's margins are better than Hidden Fate's. I don't know how else to put on a platter for you. I say this all the time. For anyone in Patreon knows, like this whole year has been nothing but Japanese value. It's like the separation between seasoned collectors and brand new collectors. And I'm trying to just get that education out there so people can be more aware. The Japanese market has so much opportunity, not only from a direct money aspect, but also from a knowledge informational aspect. It's really the core of the hobby. I don't think that's going to change. English is 5 steps behind all the time. Champion's Path is their creation. Champion's Path is an English inception. That's an English creation. And here is the Japanese creation on the year. So proof's in the pudding. There it is. That is the best set of the year. It's so exciting. I'm probably going to open up another one of these boxes as I turn off the camera. It's just been a phenomenal year. And, hopefully this best and worst of the year recap, I'm trying to, get some new ideas out there to do. Hopefully this was useful and you valued it to some extent. But there it is, guys. The deal. Let me know how you feel, and that's pretty much it. Till next time.